A modern John Deere tractor runs on more lines of computer code than the spacecraft that carried the first humans to the moon. The machine plowing a field in Iowa is more software than the Apollo command module, and almost none of that code belongs to the person who bought the tractor. What the farmer does not realize, watching an $800,000 combine roll off the trailer, is that he has not bought a machine. He has bought permission to use one. A sensor trips, a code flashes on the screen, and the combine shuts itself down in the middle of a harvest until a company laptop arrives to switch it back on. He can see the broken part. He could fix it before breakfast. The software will not let him. If you have ever paid a monthly fee for something you used to own outright, or waited on hold to unlock a device already in your hands, you have felt a small version of this. Farmers live the full one, and it has already cost John Deere $99 million and a federal lawsuit joined by 5 states, which raises the question this whole story turns on. Why would a company spend 2 decades deliberately making its own machines harder to fix? The answer is not incompetence, it is a plan. For most of a century, a John Deere tractor was the purest definition of ownership in America. The company has built farm equipment since 1837, and the loyalty it earned was generational. A farmer bought green because his father bought green. His father bought green because in the worst years, the local dealer knew his name. And the machine could be kept alive with a wrench, a manual, and a Saturday. That was the deal. Deere sold the iron and the parts. The farmer supplied the labor, the knowledge, and the stubbornness. The machine was property in the fullest sense of the word. You could fix it, modify it, lend it, and sell it. And the company had no say in any of it. That arrangement built one of the most trusted brand names in American history, in an industry where trust is measured in decades. But a machine you can fix yourself is a machine that pays the company only once. And somewhere inside Deere's own spreadsheets, a problem was forming that all of that trust was never designed to survive. What do you do when your best customer only needs to pay you once every 10 years? The answer was to change what the machine is. Beginning in the 2000s, computers moved into the tractor and never left. Engine controllers, emission systems, GPS guidance accurate to less than an inch, hundreds of sensors reporting to onboard software that governs everything from steering to the precise amount of fuel entering each cylinder. A modern combine is closer to a data center on wheels than to anything your grandfather drove. Here is why that matters to you even if you have never touched one. Steel can be repaired by anyone with skill. Software can be locked by the people who wrote it. When something fails on a modern Deere, the machine often produces a code that only proprietary dealer tools can fully read or clear. Imagine your car flashing an error, refusing to drive faster than walking pace, and the only laptop on earth allowed to wake it up sits at a dealership 50 miles away, behind a 3-day queue. Now imagine the software features themselves arriving as subscriptions: signal precision, data services, automation packages. Your phone already works this way, and you tolerate it because a phone costs $1,000. A combine costs $800,000. If you have ever waited on a locked machine or watched a company you trusted turn its own product into a toll booth, subscribe. This channel works through one machine class, one corporate decision, one site at a time. So what happens when a machine you still owe the bank for goes dark in the middle of a harvest? Picture eastern Nebraska, late October, soybean harvest, 6 in the morning. The following scene is reconstructed from the logic of thousands of complaints in the court record, not attributed to any named individual. A farmer climbs into the cab of his combine, fires it, and watches an emissions fault light the screen. The machine drops itself into reduced power as a precaution. He climbs back down, opens the side panel, finds the sensor, and checks the connector with a thumb. He knows this part. It costs less than a tank of fuel and swaps out in 20 minutes. One thought: I can see it. I could fix it before breakfast. But the code cannot be cleared without dealer software, and the dealership's service line offers him a technician in 3 days. 3 days. With grain standing in the field, rain in the forecast, and tens of thousands of dollars of his year drying on the stalk, he takes his cap off, sets it on the ladder step, and stares down the rows for a long moment without moving. I own this thing on paper, he tells the service line. Multiply that morning across the country, and you get 2022, when farmers stopped calling service lines and started calling lawyers. That answers who pushed back. But it opens the harder question. Because inside company headquarters, none of this looked like a scandal. It looked like a strategy performing exactly as designed. Why? Well, here's the mechanism, and it explains why Deere made this choice, and why it will keep being tempted to make it again. Hardware sales are lumpy. A farmer buys a combine once every 10 or 15 years. The revenue shows up as a spike on a chart, and then that customer disappears for a decade. Wall Street pays modestly for spikes. It pays premium multiples for smooth, predictable, recurring income, the kind that arrives every month, whether or not anyone bought a machine. Repairs are recurring. Parts are recurring. Software subscriptions are recurring. Every diagnostic code that only a dealer can clear routes repair labor into the authorized network at rates north of $150 an hour. And the company has told investors it wants 10% of revenue from recurring sources by 2030. You already know this model from your own life. Printers sold cheap so the ink can be sold forever. Razors sold cheap so the blades never stop. The executive who approved locking the software was not trying to punish farmers. He was trying to convert a customer who pays once a decade into a customer who pays every month, because that is what the stock price rewards. The tractor became the subscription's delivery vehicle. But if the math is that clean, why is the company now writing 9-figure checks? Because the customers started doing math of their own. The 2022 lawsuits accused Deere of monopolizing repair, and the Justice Department sided with the farmers. So on January 15, 2025, the Federal Trade Commission sued, joined by 5 states. But courts move slowly, and farmers do not. So while the lawyers argued, buyers quietly bid up older machines built before the software era, hunting iron with no locks at all. The pressure worked. In April 2026, Deere agreed to pay $99 million to settle with the farmers and promised access to diagnostic tools for 10 years. In July, the federal settlement locked that promise in. But Deere admitted no wrongdoing in either deal. And farmers have heard this promise before. In 2023, the company pledged the very same access to the largest farm lobby, which agreed in exchange to stop backing right to repair laws. Fool me once. The settlements answer what happened. They do not answer why a company built on trust chose to gamble it. What was the actual decision? The root cause was not the software itself. It was the choice, roughly 2 decades ago, to treat software as a lock instead of a feature. Emissions rules and precision farming gave Deere a natural choke point inside every machine, and the company's finance culture chose to monetize the choke point rather than the loyalty. Here is the flaw in that math. Trust is an asset that never appears on a balance sheet, so a quarterly forecast cannot price the cost of destroying it. Farmers never stopped needing Deere. They stopped believing Deere was on their side. And that belief, not the dealer network, not the green paint, was the actual moat. Where does that leave things now? Millions of green machines will keep running because fleets do not turn over on a news cycle. And for the next 10 years, the diagnostic tools are guaranteed by court order. But the next generation of buyers is deciding right now what ownership is worth. And some of them are deciding at auction, paying new tractor money for 30-year-old machines with no software in them at all. Sit with that. The used market is placing a premium on the absence of the company's own technology. What that rebellion looks like and what those old machines now cost is the next video. Because the verdict on this one is already in. John Deere still sells tractors. It just stopped selling ownership. If you want the rest of this list, subscribe. The machines are evidence. The story is what got sold with them.